Hello and good evening, and thank you for joining me for this Friday evening real Bible study. I want to thank you for your time. This is a bit different. This will be one of many that we'll be doing on Fridays and Saturdays as well. So we're going to jump right into it. I had a question asked, not directly to me, but indirectly, regarding the holidays, since many people around the world are celebrating the birth of a Messiah on December 25th. So the question was asked. I'm going to read that question real quick. So the question was asked to all the people who say Christmas is pagan, why is there so much love on this day? It is such a peaceful day, a joyous day, such a caring day. This is one of the days, very special time of the year where more good than bad things happen. It is the greatest celebration among all nations in the world. Okay, so Darren asks this question: why is it called pagan if all these good things is happening? So we first look at what is pagan. What does pagan mean? So the term pagan originates from the Latin word paganus, meaning rural or civilian, and was first used by the early Christians in the 4th century. So this is 4th century AD. So this is after the Messiah, Yahusha, and his apostle were already removed from the earth. To describe people practicing polytheism, which means polytheism simply means the worship of many gods. This was the custom of the Gentile nation, Greek, Rome, the Persians, Assyrians. They all were polytheistic. They had many gods for all occasions. In ancient Rome, pagans were often seen as those who lived in rural areas or were not involved in military service. Paganism in Rome included a variety of beliefs and practices, often intertwined with local customs and rituals, and was characterized by the worship of multiple gods and goddesses, as well as a strong emphasis on community and ritual. So, what does this have to do with the birth of the Messiah? Well, actually, it does not. There's no record in Scripture where we read the apostles or the writings of any of the prophets that a Messiah would have a specific day to be worshipped. These just came about and adopted by the early church fathers that helped set up the foundation for what is called Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, which is the universal religion of all Christian denominations. The word Catholic means universal. So wherever you see a building that house individuals, the term Christian, and they all follow the same belief system, believing in the Messiah that they've referred to as Jesus Christ. His birthday is being celebrated on that particular day. And this is the same day that most of the pagan pantheon gods have the same birthday. Like you find Mithras, as well as Hercules, Venus. A lot of these pagan gods were born on December 25th. It doesn't take a genius to go on a search engine and type in a search phrase, what gods were born on December 25th, and you would see a list of them. Too many to describe here. So the point is, why is the Messiah of the scriptures being associated with this particular day? Well, to go deep into that will take a while, but in order to understand the world, we have to look at the Hebrew perspective, what they did and why they didn't do certain things, and why the Elohim of heaven and earth told the Israelites that they need to be his people, which is set apart or holy. That's what holy means, to be set apart. So when you have that perspective that the Creator does not want folks who are aligned with him doing the things of the other nations. 1 second. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's turn to First John. I believe it's First John. Is that? Yes. First John, looks like chapter 2. Verses 15 to 17. Okay. So it says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof, but he that do the will of Elohim abide forever. Now, if you turn to the beginning of that particular chapter, verses 3, it says, and hereby we do know that we know him. How? If we keep his commandments. He that say, I know him, and keep not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whosoever keeps his word, in him verily is the love of Elohim perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. He that says he abide in him, abideth in him, ought himself also to walk, even as he walked. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment which ye had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you have heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write unto you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past and the true light now shineth. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother is in darkness even until now. So let me stop right here. So it's saying he who says, I know him and keep not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So the Creator never gave any command to observe the son's birthday, because this was a practice done by in the ancient world, which the modern world has inherited through Christianity, because it's Christianity that actually promotes this. And like I was speaking to my niece earlier today, I said Christianity is a separate religion from the scriptures. It looks biblical. It smells biblical as well. It speaks some biblical things, but when it comes to the obedience part, they are not in compliance with the scripture. It's totally separate. So don't confuse the religion of Christianity and the scriptures. The scripture is of Hebrew origin, and it should be looked as that from that perspective. The ancient Hebrews, they were not supposed to worship the Creator in the same way the other nations worship their gods. I hope that makes sense to you and that you understand. So there's nothing that says in the scripture that the Messiah's birthday was supposed to be celebrated. None of the apostles, again, I said. And this is not to convince you to do anything. This is just to make you aware that everyone is not going in the same direction, even though they have a belief in the Creator. So let me read from the book of, I believe it's Esdras. Excuse me. I think it's 4th Esdras. So this is 4th Esdras from chapter 7, verses 17. Then answered I and said, O Yahuwah Adonai, you have ordained in your Torah that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the wicked should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for wide, for they that do wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall see the wide. It goes on to say, and he said to me, there is no judge above Elohim, and none that has understanding above El Elyon, the Most High. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the Torah of Elohim, and that is set before them. For Elohim has given straight commandments to such as came, they that should do to live even as they came, and they that should observe to avoid punishment. So there's very set specific language in the scripture that the Most High requires people to follow. And it's not just believing in the Messiah as it's commonly taught. If we look at the book of Revelation, we see many instances and I'll point out a few of them for you. So this is Revelation chapter 22, verses 14. It says, Blessed are they, or Baruch, are they that do his commandments, and that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loves and maketh a lie. Let's take a look at another one. Verse 17, Revelation chapter 12, it reads, And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim, and have the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. So there's two things here. They have a faith in the Messiah, and they're ones that guard the commands of the Most High. In Christianity, they call the commands, believe legalism. That's what they call it. Now, if you ask a Christian, what is sin? When you ask them, what is sin? Well, sin is breaking the law. So, how do you not break the law? His commands, by having them bind to your heart. Here's what it says here, Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua Mashiach. So you see that that twofold chord again, where it says they keep the commands and the faith of the Messiah, Yahushua. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, why you cannot be a part of the world or follow the things of the world. Okay, this froze up here. Okay. Okay. All right. So last time we were together, let's see if we could do a quick recap. We was looking at the end time Bible prophecy, what you should know. This was the topic we were discussing a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago. And we were looking at some particular books in question here. We looked at the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher, so we're going to go back to that. We first need to identify the people that lived before religion. And brought this up with my niece again. We were speaking about the laws and the commands of the Most High. And I told her that when you look at the scripture, you won't find two things in there, two words that are not synonymous with actually the scriptures. You won't find the word Christianity, nor you won't find the word Christmas, but those are the two biggest influences in the world, and you got to take a look at that from a biblical point of view. So we looked at Noah, the son of Lamech, and then we looked at Methuselah, that's Lamech's father, Noah's grandfather, and then we look at Enoch, which is Noah's grandfather. So we're taking a look at the world before the flood. I'm going to look at those scriptures again. So what we were looking at, we saw that we established a fact that the angels or the sons of Elohim came down and they knew the woman, the daughters of men, and the woman conceived and they had children called the Nephilims. So let's see if you can run back to that book again to do a quick recap. So we're looking at the world before the flood. Okay. So we looked at, let's take it from verses 9, chapter 7 of Enoch. And these are the names of the chiefs. Shemiyazar was the leader. Eurikabah, Ralamil, Akabel, Tamiel, Rumael, Danel, Azikel, Sharunikal, Ashael, Amaz, Bataraal, Anan, Zavabi, Samsavel, Iratael, Turael, Yomiael, Araziel. These were the prefects of the 200 angels, and the remainder were all with them. So these are the number of the angels, the sons of Elohim. Then they took women, each choosing for himself whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. And the woman conceiving brought forth the Nephilim, and they bore to them three races first. The great Nephilim, the Nephalim, brought forth the Nephalim, and the Nephilim brought forth the Eliud. And they existed, increasing in power according to their greatness, whose stature was each 300 cubits. These devoured all the labor of men until they became impossible to feed. Then they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and they began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, to eat one another's flesh and to drink their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteousness. So this was happening before what is called religion. So we had men on earth that had to deal with these monsters of what these angels are created. So we're going to take a look at a time. We're looking at this to establish a time before the world knew about religion. You had men that feared Yahuwah, the Most High, the Creator, and then you had people that lived lawlessly. So Let's take a look. What we're reading here is the account of life before the Creator judged the earth. So if we look at the scripture, Matthew chapter 24, verses 37. And it reads, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." So this was the time before the flood. So we're taking a look at this. So I just want to say this. So you have a creator. You were created for a purpose. Over time, lies have been spread about how this world was created. Our programming from the movies, television shaped how we perceive this world. We have the Big Bang theory, evolution of man evolving from gelatin, then a monkey and apes, and then we have cavemans and dinosaurs influencing how we understand the creator. True or false, some people have beliefs mixed in with what the world has given them, and this leads to doubt. So you must decide who you're going to believe, what Yah says in his word or what man has told us to believe. So your beliefs are not inconsequential, so I want you to be aware of that. So let's take a look at the book of Jasher. I think that is from chapter 4. And all the days of Enoch lived upon the earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son and anointed him. And they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of Elohim as his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise, during the whole of his life, taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of Elohim. And he did not turn from the good way, either to the right or to the left. So here again, we see in this model here where one righteous man is ruling all the kings of the earth. And this is going to be the same thing that is going to happen in the last time. There's going to be one ruler who is going to rule the whole world, and there's going to be caught in the middle a remnant of people who believe in the Creator, the Most High. They would know His name, and they would be keeping the testimonies of the Messiah, Yahusha, and also the commandments as well. So like it was in the old world, so it's going to be at the end of the age. So we've seen here again Methuselah, the son of Enoch. He was taking over the reins, having all the inhabitants of the earth under him and teaching them the way of the Most High. So it goes on and says, "But in the latter days, Methuselah and the sons of men turned from Yahuwah. But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from Yahuwah. They corrupted the earth, they robbed, they plundered each other, and they rebelled against Elohim, and they transgressed." Isn't that what's going on today? People plundering, robbing one another. "And they corrupted their ways, and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And Yahuwah was exceedingly angry with them. And Yahuwah continued to destroy the seed in those days. so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. So what they sowed, they did not reap. They reap something different. Thistles and thorns. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of Elohim. And they provoked Yahuwah with their evil ways, and Yahuwah was very angry and repented that he had made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. Okay, so right now again we're reading the account where the Most High is looking down and seeing what mankind is doing on the face of the earth, and he's planning to judge them. But he always gives warning before judgment. So let's take a look at okay. So now as we're looking at this particular scripture, what you have to understand now is that you are a part, or you are a descendant of this Noah, his sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So you have to know that the scripture is speaking specifically about nations. We mentioned that in our last session, that the Most High does not see race, he sees nation. And let's turn for that scripture so you understand the scripture that you are playing a part in end times Bible prophecy, whether you know it or not. So we're going to take a look at the book of Acts chapter 17 verses 26. It reads like this. Let's say 17. Okay. And he has made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth. And he has determined the times before appointed, and the bounds of their habitation. So right there is saying that the Most High has created one blood all the nations of men. So you are part of a nation. So let's take a look at that. So let's go to Joshua again, chapter 9. So we're going to take a look at Joshua chapter 9. We're going to take a look at, before we get to Joshua chapter 9, hold that thought right there. Let's go to Genesis. I want to introduce you to him first. It's important that there was a man named Methuselah who all people learned the wisdom of Elohim and to follow his ways. And then there was an opposing person. We find him in the book of Genesis chapter 10. He's mentioned here in the table of nations. So let's read. As I was saying earlier, you are part of a nation. And in the book of Genesis or Bereshit, we have the table of nations right here after the flood. So let's take a read of that. Chapter 10, it says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So you are descendant of one of these sons of Noah. And unto them were the sons born after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal. Meshach, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Rivkah, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. But these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after their tongue, after their families, in their nation. So this is the first place you're going to see the word Gentiles. So when you look at these descendants of Japheth and you do a search, you'll see that these nations right here are being mentioned in the scripture. And tomorrow we're going to follow up with these nations. We're going to take a look at where they were located and who they are today. As we look into end time Bible prophecy, it's about individuals and nations. So you got to see where these nations are and who is actually fulfilling these prophecies. So verses 6, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Sheba and Havilah, Sabata and Ramah, Sabaticha, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Now, right here is the first time you see this name, Nimrod. And you just get a little glimpse, you hear the name, but Genesis doesn't give you the backstory. So we're going to take a look at Jasher now to get more acquainted with Nimrod. So we're looking at the book of Jasher, chapter 9. I'm going to read from, let's look at from verses 20. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control. So all the earth was under a Hamite named Nimrod. If you don't know what Ham means, Ham is the progenitor of what is called the dark races, but not the Negro. So he was a Hamite. This is where he came from. So one man was the ruler or was in control of all the earth. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of understanding. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together. Put, Mizraim, Ethiopia, and Canaan, with their families, and they said to each other, come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven. And we will make ourselves famous, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on the account of their wars. So this was their grand plan. Okay. Verse 22. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. And all the families assembled, consisting of 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk, and they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. Verse 24, and they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was to them a transgression and a sin. And they began to build it. And while they were building against Yahuwah Elohim in heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all the people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own Elohims, our own gods there, and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And Elohim knew their works and all their evil thoughts. And he saw the city and the tower which they were building. Isn't it like today? People want to eradicate the Creator. They don't want any thought or any mention of anything other than themselves. Verse 27. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. On the account of its height, the mortar and the bricks did not reach the building in their ascent to it, unto those who went up and had completed a full year. So it took a whole year to do one part of the building, and then they would come down. So this was a long, extensive piece of work here. And after that, they would reach to the builders and gave them mortar and bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from the hands and got broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. So if a brick fell from someone and it broke, they would all weep. They would all lament. But if someone fell and died, they wouldn't even look at him. This is how cold these people were. Verse 32 says, and Elohim said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues. And one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so to them. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. Let me pause right there. So today we have different nations with different languages. So this is where the languages got confused. This is why some nations, they speak Russian or Ukrainian or Pakistan, Hindi, all over the world. Each descendant of Noah's sons, they speak different languages. So we see that why people speak different languages is because the Most High confused the tongues of men because they were of one consent. They had one language and one aim. So there, you know, if you didn't know before, why we have different languages. Okay. And it goes on to say, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And Yahuwah smote the three divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our Elohim there, became like apes and elephants. And those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, Yahuwah killed them one man through the hands of his neighbor. And the third division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, Yahuwah scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babel, for there Yahuwah confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east, the land of Shinar. Verse 38. And as the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third. and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. So there's a large number of people that died in that exhibition of rebelliousness against the Most High. And we're establishing the fact that there was one ruler back then, so there will be in the last days, there's going to be one ruler as well, controlling the masses, able to communicate in all languages. So right there, I'm going to pause right there. We're going to pick up tomorrow morning at 9:30. We'll get this going into understanding end time Bible prophecy, what you should know, what the world is going to look like, or what the world would become before the Messiah makes his return to gather up his people, his set apart people. So I want to thank you for this evening. If there's any questions, you could reach out to me via the comment section. This would be uploaded to YouTube in the next few minutes. Again, we'll reconvene this again tomorrow morning at 9:30. So with that said, I want to thank you again, and shalom.